The Bloodline opened Friday's SmackDown with a forceful acknowledgement from undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, as he always does, followed by the return of The Rock. After several one-liners and boos from the audience, WWE finally got to the meat of the segment some 30 minutes into the broadcast, as the Great One countered Cody Rhodes' challenge for a match by issuing a challenge of his own for the biggest tag team match in the history of WrestleMania. On the grand stage, it'll be The Rock and Reigns versus Rhodes and Seth Rollins in the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania 40 with two enormous stipulations. A win for the latter team and the American Nightmares match against the Tribal Chief will be free of the Bloodline. A win for the heels, and it'll be Bloodline rules, which means anything goes for Rhodes versus Reigns. The head of the table did not appear overtly thrilled by either stipulation and interrupted The Rock's trademark catchphrase, saying he would do anything for the family, but he wanted acknowledgement from his famous cousin. The Rock did, and the Bloodline stood tall to close an explosive segment that took forever to go anywhere, but once it did, delivered big time. Reigns was the star here. Rock did all of the talking on the mic, but it was the Tribal Chief's facial expressions and body language that told the story. He was a guy forced to sit back and watch his more famous family member take center stage, barking out orders and issuing challenges, and the paranoia and absence of self-confidence set in. He needed Rock to acknowledge him so he could return to whatever place of power he thought he had in the family. When the Great One did, Reigns brimmed with confidence. As the Bloodline took center stage and raised their fingers to the sky, it was not lost on this writer that Rock teased the thumb coming out again, forming an L in the direction of the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. There are so many layers to this story, and this one segment presented at least two more. Epic stuff from everyone involved, including Reigns, who quite literally is on a different level from anyone else when it comes to the character work and storytelling. What is your take on this opening segment and the challenge laid down by The Rock? Sound off in the comments below. Though millions around the world enjoyed the segment, WWE seemingly didn't plan on it going that long. As per a report from Fightful Select, unlike regular days when Michael Hayes produces Roman Reigns segments, Jason Jordan was chosen as the producer of this segment. However, similar to numerous other segments involving the Brahma Bull, WWE had to make adjustments to the show after the segment went longer than expected. The Rock is undoubtedly one of the biggest names in the history of not just professional wrestling, but Hollywood as well. Therefore, it comes as no surprise he's been confirmed as one of the presenters for the 2024 Academy Awards. According to The Hollywood Reporter, The Rock and Bad Bunny join a star-studded lineup of presenters for the Academy Awards, including Michael Keaton, Jennifer Lawrence, John Mulaney, Jamie Lee Curtis, Brendan Fraser, Matthew McConaughey, Al Pacino, Zendaya, Sam Rockwell, and Michelle Yeoh. From one big name to another now, as although not confirmed for the event, reports in recent weeks have noted that John Cena is trying to ensure he is free for WrestleMania 40 so he can be involved with WWE's biggest show of the year in some capacity. Cena is currently away from WWE, having ended his short full-time run in 2023 with a loss to Solo Sikoa at Crown Jewel. Dave Meltzer reported in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that a WrestleMania 40 appearance is dependent on Cena's acting schedule, and if Cena were to be involved at Mania, he would be unable to do anything that could be deemed a risk. Should he be at the show though, WWE's plans are for Cena to do something fun, short and memorable, and with substance. The 16-time world champion looks set to be a wrestler in WWE until 2027, with Cena noting he will retire around his 50th birthday. What do you want John Cena to do if he does appear at WrestleMania 40? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. SmackDown news next, as Tiffany Stratton made her way to the Squared Circle to battle Naomi, who was already in the Squared Circle and looking to avenge her upset loss to the former NXT Women's Champion inside the Elimination Chamber last Saturday. What ensued was a solid back-and-forth match, clearly hampered by time constraints, that concluded with Stratton delivering the prettiest moonsault ever for the hard-fought victory. There is an argument to be made that Naomi should not be losing this much this early in her return to the company, but Stratton is red hot coming out of the Elimination Chamber and the overwhelmingly positive response she received in Perth. It makes sense that WWE Creative would want to emphasize her here. Hopefully, this is not the end of the issues between the two competitors though, because there is some chemistry there, and it would be nice to see it build in the coming weeks. More from SmackDown now, as the deceit and betrayal within Damage Control reared its head again as Dakota Kai turned on Bayley Friday night, dropping off the apron just as the 2024 Women's Royal Rumble winner was about to make a much-needed tag. Bayley fired up, fended off Asuka and Kairi Sane, then turned her fury towards Kai. She unloaded, but the heels had the numbers advantage in their favor and ultimately left her lying to close out the segment. Was it predictable that Kai, known as much for her betrayal of Tegan Nox in a War Games match during their time in NXT, would turn on Bayley? Sure, but it made sense, and sets the #1 contender to the WWE Women's Championship up as an even more sympathetic babyface who fans will want to see get her revenge. This worked well and set the stage for a Bayley vs. the World story in time for WrestleMania 40. Backstage, a celebratory Damage Control encountered Jade Cargill for the first time, only for Nick Aldis to play peacekeeper and usher the latter into his office for business. Bron Breakker delivered yet another dominant performance. While he made his SmackDown debut last week by beating Dante Chen within 2 minutes, this time the 26-year-old beat Xyon Quinn in a matter of seconds. Post his victory, people were quick to praise Breakker, however they also wanted to know more about Xyon Quinn. For those unaware, his name is Daniel Vidot, and he is from Brisbane, Australia. Quinn was a professional rugby player before turning to wrestling. After spending 8 seasons playing rugby, the 34-year-old signed a developmental deal with WWE in 2018. In April 2020, Xyon Quinn made his on-screen debut in a loss to Sheamus on SmackDown. After this loss, he debuted on NXT and spent quite some time there. During the draft in April 2023, it was announced that Quinn was a free agent, which allows him to compete on either Raw or SmackDown. Despite this ability, the Australian's match against Bron Breakker was his first since May 15, 2023. It'll be interesting to see if WWE uses Quinn more going ahead. AEW next, as the theatrical entrance which saw Sting descend from the roof was important because it marked the first time he had done it since TNA Slammiversary in 2007. Before that, Sting hadn't done a Rafter drop since his WCW days in 2000. The sad death of Owen Hart in May of 1999, which raised awareness of the possible dangers linked with such stunts, heavily influenced the decision to use this entry rarely over time. According to Fightful Select, it's been revealed that AEW and Tony Khan took proactive steps by reaching out to Martha Hart, Owen Hart's widow, to seek her input and approval for the spot. Martha Hart ultimately gave her blessing for Sting to use the entrance, which is why the dramatic moment unfolded as planned on AEW Dynamite. How do you feel about AEW's decision to incorporate Sting's iconic descent from the rafters into the latest episode of Dynamite, considering the historical significance and potential risks associated with such an entrance? Let us know in the comments below. More from AEW now, as during AEW World's End last year, Miro defeated Andrade El Idolo in a singles match after CJ Perry betrayed the Mexican superstar. However, Miro has remained absent from AEW television since then. AEW President Tony Khan revealed during the AEW Revolution media call that he had planned for Miro and Keith Lee to be part of the Meat Madness match at Revolution, but had to scrap it as they were both unavailable. The Redeemer took to Twitter and commented on a tweet about what Tony Khan had to say, as he revealed that he has been injured since September last year and got medical attention in January. He added that Tony Khan was not aware of this either. Miro openly taking a dig at Tony Khan is a sure indication of both not being on good terms. That being said, only time will tell when the Bulgarian Brute will be able to make his triumphant return to AEW television. Now, since his betrayal of Rey Mysterio a few months ago, Santos Escobar has been on a whole new level of dominance. The latter injured WWE Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio with a torn meniscus in November and has been building a new faction since. Escobar already has added Humberto Carrillo, Angel Garza, and Elektra Lopez to his faction, with even odds against the current status of the LWO. On the March 1st episode of SmackDown, the former NXT star went one-on-one with Carlito in a street fight where Garza and Carrillo couldn't help but interfere and attack the legend. However, Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro made their way to take Carrillo and Garza. After a fair share of offenses from both sides, the LWO members were knocked out when Rey Mysterio made an appearance. The Hall of Famer walked out with crutches, and Escobar laughed about it. However, right when Carrillo and Garza came out to attack, Mysterio took his crutches off and attacked the duo to take them out. He then went into the ring and distracted Escobar to let Carlito take him down. He then delivered a 619 to his former tag team partner, helping Carlito pick up a win. With a return to SmackDown, Mysterio is clearly set to resume his rivalry with Santos Escobar. With WrestleMania on the horizon, both men locking horns in a singles match won't be shocking. What do you think of Rey Mysterio's return on the March 1st episode of SmackDown? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. Ahead of the night's main event, Nick Aldis confronted an enraged LA Knight, informing him that he had instructed AJ Styles not to be at the show. The megastar vowed revenge against the Phenomenal One and told the SmackDown general manager that no one, not even him, would prevent him from achieving it. From there, Kevin Owens joined Corey Graves and Wade Barrett in the commentary position as Randy Orton squared off with Austin Theory in a match set up by Grayson Waller, inadvertently throwing his friend under the bus earlier in the night. A surprisingly good competitive match saw Orton give Theory some quality offense before a fiery finish that included table bumps, a giddy Owens, and one of the greatest RKOs of all time to the arrogant heel. The Viper secured the win, Owens joined him in dispatching the heels one last time, and the two babyfaces stood tall to close out the show. This was a match that kept Orton and Owens in the spotlight on a night when shared foe Logan Paul was unavailable. It also should serve as the latest chapter in a deteriorating friendship between Theory and Waller, which could be one of the more enjoyable stories post-WrestleMania 40. More from WWE now, as William Regal has been working as the Vice President of Global Talent Development and has mostly stayed away from TV appearances. However, earlier this year, he returned to TV for a backstage segment with Ava, who he confirmed was the new NXT General Manager. Fans have been waiting to see what Regal does next and what role he'll have in regular WWE TV programming, with expectations that he could become involved in NXT again soon. However, now a report has emerged from Fightful Select. They reported that internally in WWE, there were no plans to use William Regal in an on-screen role full-time in the near future. Thus, for the moment, fans will have to remain patient to see what happens next in his absence and whether he ever returns to an on-screen role again. His experience is clearly of use to WWE, so they could choose to keep using him in his backstage role. During his remarkable 335-day title run, Josh Alexander gained great success and was instrumental in restoring TNA's standing as a premier wrestling organization. He recently renewed his contract with TNA and has now refuted claims of being held hostage. Alexander will be with TNA Wrestling for at least another year, and the former world champion made clear after signing that he has gold on his mind in 2024. Speaking with PW Insider, Alexander wanted to make it known that despite reports, his extension was not signed under contentious terms, and the Walking Weapon completely understood the situation. However, he did reveal that he didn't know that his 2-year deal was set to expire in mid-February. It actually expired on Valentine's Day, and Alexander decided to sign the deal to stick around an extra year. I see all the tweets and stuff like that of people saying I've been held hostage and stuff, and just to dispel that narrative, like I signed that contract 2 years ago. I knew there was a 3rd-year option. Sure, it would have been better for me if they didn't pick it up, I'm sure, so I could renegotiate something new and probably for more money and for a longer term, or I could go out in free agency and see what I could get elsewhere. But yeah, at the end of the day, all things in this business, I want to remain a professional up first and foremost, and that's very important to me, and I signed that contract and I'm not being held hostage. I'm here for at least another year unless something is negotiated before then for me to stay for a longer term and stuff like that, which is, Anthem management has said that that is an option and stuff that we're going to discuss in the future, but for right now, it's business as usual. Alexander does have a new opponent in the mix, as Alex Hammerstone, who he fought with at TNA Hard to Kill, will be his opponent once again at TNA Sacrifice. Are you glad Josh Alexander is sticking with TNA? Let us know in the comments. And we're ending with Virgil now, as the wrestling world mourned the loss of the WWE and WCW legend last week. WWE Hall of Famer Ted DiBiase shared his thoughts on the passing of Virgil during an episode of Everybody's Got a Podcast. DiBiase reflected on their time working together in WWE, where Virgil served as DiBiase's bodyguard. DiBiase praised Virgil's physique and discipline, but mentioned that Virgil's limited wrestling savvy impacted the success of their on-screen partnership. DiBiase acknowledged their continued friendship over the years, occasional meetups at Comic-Cons, and Virgil's struggles, expressing sadness over his passing and describing it as a sad story. He also mentioned his attempt to help Virgil secure a spot in WCW when DiBiase joined the promotion. What do you think of what Ted DiBiase had to say about Virgil's unfortunate passing? Let us know in the comments section below.